An area of exclusion has been created around its active area. Any human or vehicle entering this area is to be immediately terminated or
Later, in the void.
What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy, and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And in today's episode, I'm pretty excited because this looks like a really dangerous and a quirky SCP. And let's just get straight into it, guys. This is SCP-1178, the floating nuclear missile. Yes, you heard me right, the floating nuclear missile. So, yo, this has got to be juicy. So with that all out the way, if you guys do enjoy this reaction, please remember to smash that like button. Also smash the sub button. Join the family like always. This is a family, guys. If you guys enjoy my reaction style, you enjoy SCP content, you're home. You made it home. You don't have to go around the internet alone. Hop in, have a blast with us. We don't slow down for nothing and want to keep it going. So yo, smash that sub button and also turn on post notifications so you do not miss an upload. I'm telling you guys, YouTube doesn't always let you guys know when I post, even though you're subbed. So it behooves you to stay plugged by hitting that button. So with all of the way, special shout out to SCP Exposed, Foundation Tales Animated. Yo, I love their animations. I'm sure they're gonna blow this out the water. So without any further ado, let's get this show started. Alrighty, SCP-1178, the floating nuclear missile. Let's go.
Russian Special Agent Dmitry Ivanov had just arrived at the government facility in Moscow where he worked. He showed his identification to the officer at the gate and placed his finger on the scanner. Only agents with high clearance were able to enter the building. The scanner read his fingerprint and activated the door to open. As he walked towards his office, he wondered how he had managed to end up in such a boring job. When he became a special agent for the Russian government, he thought he would be leading an exciting, dangerous life. But instead, all he did was sit in front of a blank computer screen every night.
I wonder if it really be like that. Like, we all think it's about being a special agent, secret agents, all fun and games, but yo, what if you're actually just looking at a computer and stuff? Like doing like cybersecurity and type shit. Like, yo, I'll be bummed. Oh my god.
Nothing exciting ever happened here. Sometimes he wished another country would launch an attack just to give him something to do. His job was to watch out for any possible threat to...
That dude's that bored? Wishes someone would drop a nuke on you? You're that bored? Bro, you need to get out of this line to work, bro. No one should be that bored.
Just to give him something to do. His job was to watch out for any possible threat to Russian security, especially from the United States. But for years now, the relationship between the two countries had been amicable. The leaders of the two countries even went on holidays together. He went into his office. His colleague, Sergei, looked up at him. "All quiet as usual," he said. Sergei and Dmitry spoke for a little while longer before Sergei left to go home.
Okay.
Dmitry took up his position in front of the computer. He tapped in his password to signal that he had taken over for Sergei.
Dimitri's gonna fuck around and do something dumb. I feel it coming, bro. This dude, bro.
He would be spending the next 8 hours sitting, looking at his desk. It was difficult to stay focused when looking at an empty screen, and it wasn't long before Dmitry felt his eyes closing.
Oh.
He got up to make himself a coffee. He needed something to help him stay awake. He sat down at his desk once again, but it wasn't long before he was yawning. He could hardly keep his eyes open. He decided there wouldn't be any harm in having just a few minutes sleep. He closed his eyes and settled back in his chair.
The worst case scenarios always happens when you look away for that 1 second. That's when something happens, bro.
Suddenly, Dmitry was jolted awake by a siren screaming loudly. He jumped up, panic rose up inside him, and his heart was beating madly. Lights were flashing everywhere. This couldn't be happening. Dmitry looked at the
You got your action, Dmitry.
3 words written in bold red letters were flashing across the screen. Possible nuclear attack. Dmitry had to make a decision, fast. Whether to activate Russia's own nuclear weapon and aim it towards the United States, knowing that it would kill millions of people, or to wait and risk himself and his own citizens being destroyed.
They have that much power? I mean, yes, it's happening because he dozed off, but like, I feel like you have to go to the chain of command. Like this agent just can't make the decision by himself to just kill massive amount of people. What the heck? Yo, this must just be an SCP universe, right? Yo.
Dmitry pressed the big red button that would activate the launch of Russia's own nuclear missile. Welcome back to SCP Exposed.
What happened that wasn't even from America? Bro.
Before I go on, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any creepy SCP stories. Today, we bring you Keter-class object SCP-1178.
Got a Keter.
SCP-1178 is a Soviet-era RT-2 Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, whose NATO reporting name is SS-5 Skean. It was manufactured sometime between
That just sounds
1962
mean.
and 1967. It is suspended exactly 1.34 kilometers in the air above a former Soviet missile base. Its rockets will activate intermittently. However, it has never been observed to move outside of breach events. If any vehicle or mammalian organism approaches it from a distance of 200 kilometers or less, or if a broadcast contrary to those created by the Foundation is made in its range, it will begin to slowly accelerate itself from its position above the base.
What the heck?
It moves very slowly, with the highest speed ever obtained being an estimated 1.6 kilometers per hour.
This seems like another man-made SCP. The hell?
Achieved during its initial activation event. Its acceleration is to be considered a breach event, as it will cause SCP-1178's secondary effect to initiate.
Ooh.
The initiation of a Precia protocol must be done within 3 minutes of its acceleration in order to be effective. The Precia protocol calls for sleeper agents within nuclear detection organizations in various NATO and former Soviet states to sabotage the early detection systems of the countries they are working for. This is to create a plausible explanation for why these systems showed false readings. Once this has been achieved, personnel are to ignore or cast doubt on any recordings detected by equipment affected by SCP-1178. In the event that one nation launches a nuclear attack, the response systems of the recipient nation or nations are authorized to be disabled by Foundation agents to minimize the damage created by a nuclear strike and avert an X-case scenario. SCP-1178's secondary effect will initiate in the event that the missile is able to accelerate to a speed greater than 0.2 kilometers per hour. The early nuclear detection system of any former Soviet state will begin to indicate an imminent nuclear strike. Starting with radar stations, all equipment possessed by these nations will begin indicating a massive nuclear strike coming from any nuclear-capable NATO nations.
Damn.
When these states have gone on alert for the possibility of a nuclear strike, the equipment of any nuclear-capable NATO nations will also begin to indicate an imminent
NATO nations? Let me see. Let me hear that one more time.
Indicating a massive nuclear strike coming from any nuclear-capable NATO nations. When these states have gone on alert for the possibility of a nuclear strike, the equipment of any nuclear-capable NATO nations will also begin to indicate an imminent nuclear strike from any country currently affected by SCP-1178.
What the heck?
Note that it will only affect the early detection equipment of these countries, and does not affect the actual launch devices or the commanders in charge of said devices.
Oh, okay.
SCP-1178 is currently being kept in a special containment area. An area of exclusion has been created around its active area. Any human or vehicle entering this area is to be immediately terminated or containment area. An area of exclusion has been created around its active area. Any human or vehicle entering this area is to be immediately terminated or destroyed.
Yeah, I heard that right. Okay, that's wild. Are you kidding me? Is there any signs that tell them, like, yo, you can't drive around here? I'm assuming this car drove there because there was no warnings, unless it's a complete idiot and they just want to see if they'll get their ass blown up. But I doubt that's the case. There's no warning. You get killed immediately. Dang, I mean, I guess it's one life compared to like a billion, because if that shit goes off, it's over. Holy shit.
Immediately terminated or destroyed. Security personnel patrolling this area from the ground must maintain a state of radio silence at all times. Aircraft patrolling the area must never move closer than 2 kilometers to its area of exclusion. Observational equipment must predate 1938 and be constantly manned by Foundation personnel. If it shows any signs of movement towards the perimeter, it is to be considered a containment breach and a possible apocalyptic scenario.
Oh,
Loudspeaker units set up around it must constantly create broadcasts of varying nature, such as fabricated news reports of limited nuclear war between NATO states that possess nuclear armaments and the Soviet Union and the People's Republic of China.
Jesus.
In addition, there are to be reports indicating that the Midwestern United States has been devastated in a relational strike and that the U.S. Army has invaded the Kamchatka Peninsula. False broadcasts must be transmitted indicating troop movement and communications in the Soviet and United States armed forces.
Okay.
There will also be false civilian broadcasts corresponding to those events. False witness accounts will be broadcast too. There will be television signals for programs between 1962 and 1981
This is
in the Soviet
wild.
Union, and advertisements for consumer products such as gas masks, radiation suits, and firearms capable of being used by a child or parent will be displayed. All these actions will trick you into thinking that a war is actually taking place. This is essential because the instant it doesn't perceive a nuclear war is going on between NATO forces and the Soviet Union, it will leave and try to trigger one. Strong winds will not affect it. Birds are not deemed a risk factor because, as they are not blind to a solid object in the sky, they will circumnavigate it. No other native animal life will trigger it. In the event that SCP-1178 begins to accelerate, all personnel are to initiate the Precia Protocol. In the event of a Precia Protocol failure, Overwatch Command is to be set on high alert for the imminent possibility.
That's the council. Why is there a freaking brain right here? Is that SCP that's part of the council? The fuck? And there's a cat too. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's only 11 though. Oh, 12. Did I count wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, there should be 13.
Of an end of the world scenario. Previously, an incident occurred which caused it to launch. It was reported as a test by the Soviet Union.
A test?
During the launch, GRU Division P reports say that SCP-1178 ceased to accelerate and unexpectedly detonated once it reached a height of 1.33 kilometers.
So the
At the same time,
SCP is
early
dead
warning
then.
nuclear detection equipment in the USSR began to display an imminent nuclear strike by the US. It is not known why the USSR did not retaliate in response to these readings. Approximately 6 days after the incident occurred, the GRU evacuated and then demolished the base and established a permanent observation center.
Oh my god.
Recovered records indicate that it was launched at an object present in the atmosphere over Siberia.
I'm confused. Does this SCP regenerate? There's so many questions I have for it, because if it's just blown up, then it's done, right? It's terminated. It blew up. And this is a nuke, so it should be causing a lot more damage than it showed on the animation. I hope it's just like the animation, not giving it the credit that it deserves. Either way, I digress. I'm more intrigued about seeing, like, how do they find this SCP? Because it seemed like they made this. Like, they have it. They never talk about, like, finding it and, like, containing it and everything. Like, is this a man-made SCP? I'm confused. It just seems like a regular nuke that they're just, they have in the sky and just floating. But they're not really talking about, like, how it's floating and why or where did they get this SCP if it's not man-made. Maybe I'm missing something. Let me know in the comment section below.
But the appearance and properties of this object are unknown, as all information on the object was destroyed in 1991. After an unknown period of time, it began affecting the area of this object are unknown. Recovered records indicate that it was launched at an object present in the atmosphere over Siberia.
Okay.
But the appearance and properties of this object are unknown, as
all
all
the object it was launched
at was destroyed in 1991.
Damn.
After an unknown period of time, it began affecting the area around the base, leading to its second activation event. Following this event, the area of exclusion that currently exists around it was established. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, GRU personnel began broadcasting the signals currently used by SCP personnel to contain SCP-1178. It is believed that research with it had led them to create an elaborate post-war hoax in order to keep it pacified. Research notes recovered from the GRU theorize that SCP-1178's only motivation to activate was to irradiate the Earth through nuclear war, and if such a war had already occurred, it would remain inert until another civilization capable of conducting a nuclear war arose. What do you think of that SCP?
Hold on, let me hit
SCP-1178. It is believed that research with it had led them to create an elaborate post-war hoax in order to keep it pacified. Research notes recovered from the GRU theorize that SCP-1178's only motivation to activate was to irradiate the Earth through nuclear war, and if
Its motivation is to irradiate the Earth through nuclear war. So it is sentient. It has a mind of its own. What? Okay, this SCP was like really confusing me throughout the whole duration of this animation.
Such a war had already occurred. It would remain inert until another civilization capable of conducting a nuclear war arose.
Okay, now it's all kind of making sense. Like they're giving the perception that there is a war, and you gotta get your gas mask and everything so it can fool the SCP, so it won't blow up the world. If I'm getting that right, you guys probably know a lot more about this SCP than I do, so please let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And yeah, let me just finish it up.
What do you think of that SCP case? Please let us know in the comment section below. And
please let me know, because I'm your boy needs some help. This was a really cool animation though, because they talked about a lot of points where I felt like they had all the information there. I just felt like it went over my head a little bit. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's just my own fault. So please let me know in the comment section below if you guys could clear some of the things up for me that I had questions within this reaction, because this was a great animation. So with all of the way, if you guys enjoyed my reaction, please remember to smash that like button. Also smash the sub button if you want to, join the family. If you already made it this far, I'm assuming you should be already part of it. But if you're that, that dude, that girl, you know what to do. Smash that red button, and also turn on post notifications so you do not miss an upload. So with all of the way, I hope you guys all have a blessed day. And unfortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one. With